The Dallas Mavericks have always been a team known for taking risks. In 2011, they made a bold move that paid off with their first NBA championship. But in 2021, they made an even bigger gamble, signing controversial superstar Kyrie Irving to a maxed contract. This is the story of the Mavericks' big gamble with Kyrie Irving. It was the off-season of 2022, and the Dallas Mavericks needed a superstar to take them to the next level. Rumors were swirling that Kyrie Irving might be available, and owner Mark Cuban saw an opportunity to make a splash. Irving was one of the NBA's most talented and controversial players, but Cuban was willing to offer him a max contract, along with the support he needed to pursue his interests and causes. Kyrie Irving was one of the most talented and controversial players in the NBA. He had won a championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016 and had been an all-star several times, but he was also known for his erratic behavior, his clashes with coaches and teammates, and his outspoken views on a variety of social and political issues. Despite these concerns, Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, a professional basketball team in the National Basketball Association, NBA, decided to pursue Irving with all the force of his considerable personality. He called Irving himself and made him a bold offer: come to Dallas and lead the Mavericks to the promised land. In return, Cuban promised to give Irving the support he needed to pursue his various interests and causes, both on and off the court. As one of the most well-known and talented basketball players in the NBA, Kyrie Irving's decision to join the Dallas Mavericks was one of the boldest moves of the offseason. After making it to the playoffs in 6 of the last 7 years, the Mavericks needed to make a big splash to remain competitive in the Western Conference. Irving's decision to take on the challenge of joining a new team and leading them to contender status seemed like a match made in heaven. Irving was intrigued by the offer. He had grown tired of the constant drama and scrutiny in New York, where he had spent the previous season with the Brooklyn Nets. He was also impressed by Cuban's reputation as an innovative and forward-thinking owner who was willing to take risks to win. So, after some negotiations, Irving agreed to sign with the Mavericks for the upcoming season. The deal was worth a staggering $50 million per year, making Irving one of the highest-paid players in the league. The Mavericks' decision to sign Kyrie Irving was met with mixed reactions from fans and analysts. Some praised the move as a bold and necessary step for a team that has been struggling to remain competitive in the Western Conference. They pointed to Irving's proven ability to score and create for himself and others, and they argued that he would provide a much-needed spark to the Mavericks' offense. However, others were more skeptical. They pointed to Irving's history of off-court distractions and controversies, including his public comments about the Earth being flat and his refusal to comply with COVID-19 protocols. They argued that Irving's behavior could hurt team chemistry and distract from the team's focus on winning. Throughout the season, those mixed reactions continued. Irving had some impressive performances on the court, including a 40-point game against the Golden State Warriors and a 45-point game against the Boston Celtics. But he also had some lackluster games and struggled with injuries at times. Despite these criticisms, there were also those who continued to support Irving and defend the Mavericks' decision to sign him. They argued that Irving's talent and potential were worth the risks and that his contributions on the court had helped keep the team competitive. It soon became clear that Irving would be a major factor for the Mavs. He played with skill and flair, but also created off-court distractions with his outspoken views on social issues or his refusal to follow COVID-19 protocols. His presence allowed Luka Doncic, another star player with whom he shared some memorable moments, to develop into one of the league's best while keeping their team competitive throughout the season. As the season wore on, tensions began to boil over. Irving missed several games for personal reasons, leading to speculation that he was unhappy with his role on the team. He also tested positive for COVID-19 and was forced to miss more time. And when he did play, he often seemed distracted and disengaged, as if he had other things on his mind. Despite these challenges, the Mavericks remained competitive. They were led by their other star player, Luka Doncic, who had developed into one of the best players in the league. Doncic and Irving had some memorable moments on the court together, showing flashes of the dynamic duo they could be. Despite the early setbacks, the Mavericks remained competitive throughout the season. Doncic and Irving continued to play at a high level, and the team started to gel around them. They won some big games against tough opponents, and the fans began to believe that they had a real shot at making the playoffs. Doncic and Irving had different styles of play, but they complemented each other well. Doncic was a playmaker and scorer who could do it all, while Irving was a scoring machine who could create his shot from anywhere on the court. When they were both on their game, they were nearly unstoppable. The Mavericks made it to the playoffs, where they faced a tough opponent in the first round. They won the first game, but then lost the next 3 in a row. In Game 5, with their backs against the wall, the Mavericks fought back to force overtime. Doncic and Irving had both spectacular performances, but in the end, it wasn't enough. The Mavericks lost the game and were eliminated from the playoffs. In the aftermath of the playoff loss, many fans and analysts began to question the Mavericks' decision to sign Irving. Some argued that his off-court distractions and erratic behavior had hurt the team's chemistry and focus. Others pointed out that his big salary had limited the team's ability to sign other key players. Cuban defended his decision, saying that he had taken a calculated risk and that he still believed in Irving's talent and potential. But he also acknowledged that there were lessons to be learned from the experience. The Mavericks went into the offseason with some big decisions to make. They had to decide whether to try to re-sign Irving or let him go. They also had to figure out how to improve their roster and address some of the weaknesses that had been exposed in the playoffs. In the end, the Mavericks' big gamble with Kyrie Irving was a high-risk, high-reward move that had its ups and downs throughout the season. While Irving's talent and potential were evident on the court, his off-court controversies and distractions also presented challenges for the team. Despite this, the Mavericks remained competitive and made it to the playoffs, thanks in part to Irving's contributions on the court. However, the team ultimately fell short in the first round, leaving fans and analysts wondering what could have been. Looking ahead, the Mavericks will have some big decisions to make in the offseason, including whether to re-sign Irving and how to continue building a competitive team around him, and other key players like Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. And while there are certain risks involved in signing a player like Irving, the Mavericks front office has shown a willingness to take chances and make bold moves in the past. It's a strategy that has paid off at times, including when the team won its first and only NBA championship in 2011. Ultimately, whether the Mavericks' big gamble with Irving pays off remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the team's decision to sign the talented top point guard will continue to be a topic of debate among fans and analysts, and it'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out in the years to come.